What is up, Team ProGuides, and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Christoph, and today I'm going to be giving you guys 5 tips that'll help you win lane every single game. If you're struggling to understand why you're getting killed early on, then you've come to the right place. Before we jump into it though, let's get to our question of the day. What champion do you think is most broken in lane right now? I personally love reading the comments and responding to you guys, so let me know your opinions down below. And without further ado, let's jump into the easiest ways to never lose lane. The first thing you want to do is understand your champion completely before loading into the game. If you've just picked up Ahri from the shop, you'll need to know your skills before you accidentally ult into the enemy Darius. You should spend some time in the game's practice tool so you can use your skills without anyone watching. And so you can also not be on my team and then feed and then make me lose. That would be great, thank you. By going to the practice tool, you'll be able to work on landing skill shots and seeing the range of your abilities, which is super important to success in Wild Rift. After messing around a bit in the practice tool, you'll want to have the best runes and loadout for your champion equipped before heading into the Rift. We'll be coming out with videos showing you guys the best runes for your favorite champion soon, so make sure to click that sub button if you want to see that video. But we all know the tried and true best way of learning a champion, and that is just to start playing them. So your next step is to spam that champion as much as possible. I know it can get boring and you want to go from one champion to the next, but if you really want to get good at one, you have to get that muscle memory. Once you find someone you really enjoy playing and it's great with your playstyle, it's better to learn everything about that champion rather than just trying another champion if you get frustrated. Sounds like a conversation I had with Noel X. There's a lot of complexities that come with playing any champion on the Rift, so don't get discouraged if you aren't able to land your combo that easily. Once you've experimented with your champion and know when the champion is strong, make sure that you're only fighting when your champion wants to. For example, if you're playing Vayne, make sure to stay safe early on because she's a late game scaling champion, and then only fight when you have your items. If you've locked in Xin Zhao, take every fight that you can early on and push your advantage as far as you can. If you're smart about when your champion is spiking in power, you'll find laning phase to become way easier. We call this in League of Legends, knowing your power spike. Whether that comes from a level or whether that comes from an item, it really depends on your character. The second thing I have for you guys today is about using minions to your advantage. Minions do a lot of damage in the early game, and people really miss out on that. They can honestly make or break your trades. Hitting enemies with auto attacks or single target abilities will cause all nearby enemy minions to target you. So the best place to take trades is within the safety of your minion wave. As a side note, skill shots do not make you take aggro, so you can throw them out whenever you want. One of the biggest mistakes regarding minion wave management that I see new players make is when they fight their enemy laner and they initially win the trade, but they keep chasing into the enemy minion wave, which targets them and starts beating them down. Never underestimate those minions. If you've used all of your cooldowns and won the trade, do not overforce and chase too far. Make sure you stay with your wave and you won't find yourself losing trades you should otherwise win. For example, ranged champions tend to typically position themselves near the caster minions. If a ranged champion steps up to the melee minions, it's often a good time to fight with them, as they'll take aggro from the entire wave of minions when they fight you. Melee champions, however, tend to position closer to the melee minions. The melee champion moves past their melee minions, and your minions are still alive. It's an excellent time to fight, as the minions will absolutely ruin their day. Your minions are your friends, and making good use of them will make laning a piece of cake. Another good piece of advice to start winning in Wild Rift is to go get a pro coach on ProGuides.com. We currently have pro coaches for League of Legends and other amazing esports games, but we will be going into Wild Rift coaching very soon. So if you're watching this video after Christmas, we probably already have Wild Rift, so go check out ProGuides.com, get a coach, and start winning way more in your favorite games. The next tip you'll need to win is knowing exactly when to recall. Beginner players really struggle to understand why they return to base, so let's talk about the main reasons for recalling. Well, first up, when you're low on health, your first instinct might be to back and get your health and mana back. However, doing so can make you lose out on valuable gold and experience from minions, so try not to immediately back when you're low. Instead, you can use one of the honey fruit plants that spawn around the map to heal up. This might be a bit disorienting for League of Legends players, but honey fruit spawns often and heals more in Wild Rift. Recalling is important for staying healthy, but it's more important for buying new items. Because of this, you don't want to recall when you're low on gold. You'll be wasting your time, and sometimes you won't even be able to purchase anything useful in the shop. The best time to back is when you're able to get an important purchase. If you can get a major component of your best items like Lost Chapter or BF Sword, then it might be the right time to recall. On the other hand, you don't want to wait too long before returning to base. If you're sitting on 3,000 gold and your team starts a team fight, you'll be way weaker than the enemy that bought their items, and you might lose that team fight. Sometimes you'll need to recall if there's an enemy split pushing as well, which basically means that they're non-stop attacking a wave and sieging your turrets. If you're a top or a mid laner, it's usually your job to put a stop to this. Always be watching the minimap and make sure that your opponent isn't closing in on your nexus. Another thing you guys need to know is about junglers. Yes, you're a laner, but playing around both junglers is really important as a laner. They are the ones that are going to make your lane experience different every single game, sometimes good, sometimes awful. Sometimes you'll find yourself constantly getting ganked, other times your jungler's going to be ganking for you and getting you free kills. So, how can you tell what the enemy jungler is doing if you can't see them? To start, using your trinket ward as often as possible is key to surviving and predicting ganks. Junglers like to attack from the river, so try to have a ward in the river bush and pay attention to it every now and then. As a mid laner, you can only ward one side of the river, so try to stay on the side you pick to ward. That way you'll be able to run away from the jungler before they get the jump on you. If you catch the enemy jungler on your ward, that means you shouldn't be fighting unless your jungler is close by and ready to rumble. You never want to fight against two champions unless you're confident that you can win. Darius is a great top laner for winning 1v2s, since once you get the hang of him, you can pretty much destroy everyone, which is the reason why I ban him in League of Legends every game. When your jungler is close to your lane, you can ping for assistance to get their attention, to ask for help. If you can start fighting your opponent, they might not have the time to notice they're being ganked, making for an easier kill. This applies against you as well. If your opponent starts to randomly walk up at you when they've been playing very passively, well, chances are they're not alone. Just because you don't have a ward doesn't mean you can't guess what the enemy jungler is doing. Speaking of both junglers, watching your own jungler is a good way to guess where the enemy jungler might be. If your Amumu just finished clearing his blue buff, the enemy Xin Zhao is most likely finishing up their red buff. This is a great rule of thumb to follow, but don't rely on it 100% of the time. The last tip I have for you guys is to be really strict about when you fight and making sure you set yourself up for success during the game. Every champion has different levels of strength throughout the game, and the items you build will also have an effect on this. The first step is to know when your champion is strong. Two of the most common spikes in the game are at level 3, when you have access to all of your abilities, and at level 5, when you get your ultimate ability. For example, if you're playing Ahri, your ultimate is a very powerful all-in tool, and you'll want to fight as soon as you get it. This means as you're approaching level 5, you should look to conserve your health and mana so you're ready to go as soon as you hit level 5. If you're playing Jax, waiting until level 3 is often a smart move, since you want to take longer trades and having access to your gap closer and CC is vital. It's also important to consider when the enemy champion wants to fight. For example, if you're playing Camille into Garen, even though you want to fight as soon as you get level 3, the correct thing to do is actually play passive and scale up. Garen has an incredible early game and you'll find him hard to beat when you're both level 3. Make sure you consider your power spikes in the context of who you're playing against and not just thinking about your own individual game. Finally, you're going to want to be patient if your champion scales well. If you locked in Vayne or Nasus, you'll often find yourself suffering throughout the laning phase. A lot of new players will tend to get frustrated as they get harassed by strong early game champions and force an all-in. This is not the play. Stay patient and understand that as the game goes on, you'll get stronger and find better opportunities to fight. Do your best to absorb as much gold and experience as you can, and once you've reached your spike, you can start playing aggressively and take the game back into your hands. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been Christoph with you guys. I love all of you. Thank you so much for the recent support on the Wild Rift channel. Once again, if you guys are interested in getting better at League of Legends or Wild Rift or any game of your choice, go to ProGuides.com and we will help you out by connecting you to the best player possible. Don't forget to subscribe to our Wild Rift channel if you haven't already. That's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck in your next few games, and I'll see you on the Rift.